The summer table. Hey, is this seat taken? I looked up and a girl I never saw before was standing across from my table with a lunch tray full of food. She had long, wavy brown hair and wore a brown t-shirt with a purple peace sign on it. No, I said. She put her lunch tray on the table, plopped her backpack on the floor and sat down across from me. She started to eat the mac and cheese on her plate. Ugh, she said after swallowing the first bite. I should have brought a sandwich like you did. Yeah, I said, nodding. My name is Summer, by the way. What's yours? August. Cool, she said. Summer? Another girl came over to the table carrying a tray. Why are you sitting here? Come back to the table. No, it was too crowded, Summer answered her. Come sit here, there's more room. The other girl looked confused for a second. I realised she had been one of the girls I'd caught looking at me just a few minutes earlier, hand cupped over her mouth, whispering. I guess Summer had been one of the girls at that table too. Never mind, said the girl, leaving. Summer looked at me, smiled, and took another bite of mac and cheese. Hey, our names kind of match, she said as she chewed. I guess she could tell I didn't know what she meant. Summer? August? She said, smiling, her eyes open wide as she waited for me to get it. Oh, yeah, I said after a second. We can make this the summer-only lunch table, she said. Only kids with summer names can sit here. Let's see. Is there anyone here named June or July? There's a Maya, I said. Technically May is in spring, Summer answered. But if she wanted to sit here, we could make an exception, she said, as if she'd actually thought the whole thing through. There's Julian. That's like the name Julia, which comes from July. I didn't say anything. There's a kid named Reed in my class, I said. Yeah, I know Reed. But how is Reed a summer name? I don't know, I shrugged. I just picture like a reed of grass being a summer thing. Yeah, okay, she nodded, pulling out her notebook. And Miss Potosa could sit here too. That kind of sounds like the word petal, which I think is a summer thing too. I have her for homeroom, I said. I have her for math, she answered, making a face. She started writing the list of names to the second to last page of her notebook. So who else? She said. By the end of lunch, we had come up with a whole list of names of kids and teachers who could sit at our table if they wanted. Most of the names weren't actually summer names, but they were names that had some kind of connection to summer. I even found a way of making Jack Will's name work by pointing out that you could turn his name into a sentence about summer. Like, Jack will go to the beach, which Summer agreed worked fine. But if someone doesn't have a summer name and wants to sit with us, she said very seriously, we'll still let them if they're nice, right? Okay, I nodded. Even if it's a winter name. Cool beans, she answered, giving me a thumbs up. Summer looked like her name. She had a tan and her eyes were green, like a leaf. 1 to 10. Mum had always had this habit of asking me how something felt on a scale of 1 to 10. It started after I had jaw surgery. Then I couldn't talk because my mouth was wired shut. They'd taken a piece of bone out of my hip bone to insert into my chin to make it look more normal. So I was hurting in a lot of different places. Mum would point to one of my bandages and I would hold up my fingers to show her how much it was hurting. 1 meant a little bit. 10 meant so much. Then she would tell the doctor, when he made his rounds, what needed adjusting, or things like that. Mum got very good at reading my mind sometimes. After that, we got into the habit of doing 1 to 10 scale for everything that hurt. Like if I just had a plain old sore throat, she'd ask, 1 to 10? And I'd say, 3, or whatever it was. When school was over, I went outside to meet Mum, who was waiting for me at the front entrance like one of the parents or babysitters. The first thing she said after hugging me was, so, how was it? 1 to 10? 5, I said, shrugging, which I could tell totally surprised her. Wow, she said quietly. It's even better than I hoped for. Are we picking Via up? Miranda's mother is picking her up today. Do you want me to carry your backpack, sweetness? We'd started walking through the crowd of kids and parents, most of whom were noticing me, secretly pointing me out to each other. I'm fine, I said. It looks too heavy, Augie. She started to take it from me. Mum, I said, pulling my backpack away from her. I walked in front of her through the crowd. See you tomorrow, August. It was Summer. She was walking in the opposite direction. "Bye, Summer," I said, waving at her. As soon as we crossed the street and were away from the crowd, Mum said, "Who was that, Augie?" "Summer." "Is she in your class?" "I have lots of classes." "Is she in any of your classes?" Mum said. "Nope." Mum waited for me to say something else, but I just didn't feel like talking. "So it went okay today?" said Mum. I could tell she had a million questions she wanted to ask me. "Everyone was nice? Did you like your teachers?" "Yeah." "How about those kids you met last week? Were they nice?" Fine. Jack hung out with me a lot." "Oh, that's so great, sweetie. What about that boy Julian?" I thought about that Darth Sidious comment, but now it felt like it had happened 100 years ago. "He was okay." "And the blonde girl, what was her name?" "Charlotte, Mum. I said everyone was nice already." "Okay," Mum answered. Honestly, I don't know why I was kind of mad at Mum, but I was. We crossed Amsfort Avenue, and she didn't say anything until we turned onto our block. "So," Mum said, "how did you meet Summer, if she isn't in any of your classes?" "We sat together at lunch," I said. I'd started kicking a rock between my feet like it was a soccer ball, chasing it back and forth across the sidewalk. "She seems very nice." "Yeah, she is." "She's very pretty," Mum said. "Yeah, I know," I answered. "We're kind of like Beauty and the Beast." I didn't wait to see Mum's reaction. I just started running down the sidewalk after the rock which I had kicked as hard as I could in front of me. Padawan. That night, I cut off the little braid on the back of my head. Dad noticed first. "Oh, good," he said. "I never liked that thing." Bea couldn't believe I'd cut it off. "That took you years to grow," she said, almost like she was angry. "Why did you cut it off?" "I don't know," I answered. "Did someone make fun of it?" "No." "Did you tell Christopher you were cutting it off?" "We're not even friends anymore." "That's not true," she said. "I can't believe you would just cut it off like that," she added snottily, and then practically slammed my bedroom door shut as she left the room. I was snuggling with Daisy on my bed when Dad came to tuck me in later. He scooched Daisy over gently and lay down next to me on the blanket. "So, Augie doggy," he said. Was it really an okay day?" He got that from an old cartoon about a dachshund named Augie Doggy, by the way. He had brought it for me on eBay when I was about 4, and we watched it for a whole lot for a while, especially in the hospital. He would call me Augie Doggy, and I would call him dear old Dad, like the puppy called the Dachshund Dad in the show. "Yeah, it was totally okay," I said, nodding. "You've been so quiet all night long." "I guess I'm tired." "It was a long day, huh?" I nodded. But it really was okay?" I nodded again. He didn't say anything, so after a few seconds I said, "It was better than okay, actually." "That's great to hear, Augie," said Dad quietly, kissing my forehead. "So, looks like it was a good call Mum made you going to school." "Yeah, but I could stop going if I wanted to, right?" "That was the deal, yeah. Though, I guess it would depend on why you wanted to stop going too, you know. You'd have to let us know. You'd have to talk to us and tell us how you're feeling and if anything bad was happening, okay? You promise you'd tell us?" "Yeah. So can I ask you something? Are you mad at Mum or something? You've been kind of huffy with her all night, you know. I'm as much to blame for sending you as she is." "No, she's more to blame. It was her idea." Mum knocked on the door just then and peeked her head inside my room. "Just wanted to say good night," she said. She looked kind of shy for a second. "Hi, Mama," said Dad, picking up my hand and waving it at her. "I heard you cut off your braid," Mum said to me, sitting down at the edge of the bed next to Daisy. "It's not a big deal," I answered quickly. "I didn't say it was," said Mum. "Why don't you put Augie to bed tonight?" Dad said to me, Mum getting up. "I've got some work to do anyway. Good night, my son." My son. That was another part of Augie Doggy routine that I wasn't in the mood to say good night, dear old Dad. "I'm so proud of you," said Dad, and then he got up from the bed. Mum and Dad had always taken turns putting me to bed. I know it was a little babyish for me to still need them to do that, but that's just how it was with us. "Were you checking on Via?" Mum said to Dad as she lay down next to me. He stopped by the door and turned around. What's wrong with Bea? Nothing, Mark said, Mum shrugging. At least that she would tell me, but first day of high school and all that. Dad said, and then he pointed his finger at me and winked. It's always something with you kids, isn't it? He said. Never a dull moment, said Mum. Never a dull moment, Dad repeated. Night, guys. As soon as he closed the door, Mum pulled out a book she'd been reading to me for the last couple of weeks. I was relieved because I really was afraid she'd want to talk, and I just didn't feel like doing that. But Mum didn't seem to want to talk either. She just flipped through the pages until she got to where we'd left off. We were about halfway through The Hobbit. Stop, stop, shouted Thorin, and my mum read aloud. But it was too late. The excited dwarfs had wasted their last arrows, and now the bows that Born had given them were useless. They were a gloomy party that night, and the gloom gathered still deeper on them the following days. They had crossed the enchanted stream, but beyond it the path seemed to straggle on just as before, and in the forest they could see no change. Not sure why, but all of a sudden I started to cry. Mum put the book down and wrapped her arms around me. She didn't seem surprised that I was crying. It's okay, she whispered in my ear. It'll be okay. Sorry, I said between snuffles. Shh, she said, wiping my tears with the back of her hand. You have nothing to be sorry about. Why do I have to be so ugly, Mum? I whispered. No, baby, you're not. I know I am. She kissed me all over my face. She kissed my eyes that came down too far. She kissed my cheeks that looked pinched in. She kissed my tortoise mouth. She said soft words that I know were meant to help me, but words can't change my face. September. The rest of September was hard. I wasn't used to getting up so early in the morning. I wasn't used to this whole notion of homework, and I got my first quiz at the end of the month. I never got quizzes when Mum homeschooled me. I also didn't like how I had no free time anymore. Before I was able to play whenever I wanted, but now it felt like I always had stuff to do for school. And being at school was awful in the beginning. Every new class I had was like a new chance for kids to not stare at me. They would sneak peeks at me from behind their notebooks, or when they thought I wasn't looking, they would take the longest way round to avoid bumping into me in any way, like I had some germ they could catch, like my face was contagious. In the hallways, which were always crowded, my face would always surprise some unsuspecting kid who maybe hadn't heard about me. The kid would make the sound you make when you hold your breath after going underwater, a little sound. This happened maybe 4 or 5 times a day for the first few weeks. On the stairs, in front of the lockers, in the library. 500 kids in a school. Eventually, every one of them was going to see my face at some time. And I knew after the first couple of days that word had gotten round about me. Because every once in a while, I'd catch a kid elbowing his friend as they passed me, or talking behind their hands as I walked by them. I can only imagine what they were saying about me. Actually, I prefer not to even try imagining it. I'm not saying that they were doing any of these things in a mean way, by the way. Not once did any kid laugh or make a noise or do anything like that. They were just being normal, dumb kids. I know that. I kind of wanted to tell them that. Like, it's okay. I know I'm weird looking. Take a look. I don't bite. Hey, the truth is, if a Wookiee started going to the school all of a sudden, I'd be curious. I'd probably stare a bit. And if I was walking with Jack or Summer, I'd probably whisper to them, "Here's the Wookiee." And if the Wookiee caught me saying it, he'd know I wasn't trying to be mean. I was just pointing out the fact that he's a Wookiee. It took about 1 week for the kids in my class to get used to my face. These were the kids I'd see every day in all my classes. It took about 2 weeks for the rest of the kids in my grade to get used to my face. These were the kids I'd see in the cafeteria, yard time, PE, music, library, computer class. It took about a month for the rest of the kids in the entire school to get used to it. These were the kids in all the other grades. They were the big kids, some of them. Some of them had crazy haircuts. Some of them had earrings in their noses. Some of them had pimples. None of them looked like me.